Hi friends, Doug with D&E in the garage. Today I am changing the rear shocks on my 2000 XJ. These are hands down the most blown shocks I've ever seen. They've got absolutely no life. I don't even think they have any fluid left in them. I've known they needed to be changed for about 6 months, but I've been putting it off because I knew full well what was going to happen. It's so rusty underneath my Cherokee. So many Jersey winters and road salt that these two bolts totally seized, the ones that hold the bar pin in. They snapped right out as soon as I put pressure on them, which means kind of screwed, right? Wrong. Thankfully, Rough Country makes a solution for just such an occasion. All right, friends, so here is our savior for the day. This is the Rough Country flag nut bar pin kit. Something that I will absolutely make if I ever need it again, but I wanted to see exactly how they do it with those bends and everything. What we have to do is knock out the old nut certs, and then this will sneak up into the chassis and give you something to bolt your new shocks into. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So where these studs go in right here, that's a nut cert. It's a little welded nut. It's into the chassis there. It's not just, you know, integral to the Jeep. It's welded, so we're going to take an air hammer and just pound those out. If you don't have an air hammer, I guarantee with a punch and a BFH you can knock that out. Big freaking hammer. I'm gonna use the air hammer because that's what I got. So let's do that and then we'll check back in. Holy Halliburton, that is way easier said than done. Alright, I was able to knock one out because this one broke kind of below the level of the metal, so the air hammer self-centers. But this one, it broke above the level of the metal. I'm having a devil of a time keeping the air hammer on there. So what I think I'm gonna do is try to grind it flat a little bit. Maybe drill just a little divot in it so the air hammer has someplace to hold. Good news is this is proof of concept. It means that what they told me to do in the directions is possible, but be prepared for a fight. If you don't have an air hammer, I guess you're going to be using a big hammer and like maybe a breaker bar up there or something so that you can smack against it. I don't know. This is probably going to be the most difficult part, I hope. I hope after here it's smooth sailing. Rain and rust and stuff, you definitely need to have some safety goggles for this part. Let me get these out and then I'll bring you guys back in. Whoa! Jiminy Cricket. Tell you what, man, that was a struggle. Finally. Alrighty, since it was real hard to get the pointed chisel to stay on that stud, I found it was easiest to use the normal chisel until it started to go and broke through a little bit, and then you use this to drive it all the way through. That's what works for me. I don't think I would have been able to get it if I only had this attachment. Alright, for the next step over here, you're going to want to remove the wiring harness for your fuel pump so that you can access this sort of triangular hole up here. Alright, you're going to take your flag nut bracket and you're going to work it into this hole. You want to have it so that the nut certs, the welded nuts, are going to be on top. And you work it in there, kind of finagle it down, and it should fit over those holes. Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to knock some debris from the old nut certs out of the way. There's like some rust and stuff in there, but you can see it pretty much comes down right in there. So let me get those holes cleaned up. I'll get the new shock in place and then we'll tighten it down. This flag nut comes with new hardware as well, which is real nice because obviously the old stuff is screwed. Alrighty friends, you kind of need about 3 hands to get this part done, but what I found worked was before I even put the shock up here, I held on to the flag nut and I got this side bolt in about 2 or 3 threads, and I snuck the shock bar pin up there, put this side underneath this bolt, then I got this side worked in. That's what's really hard because you need to hold the shock, you need to hold the flag nut in place, and then you also need to twist this in. If you had a buddy, now would be a pretty good time to call him. Once you have this in about 5 threads, everything's loose, go ahead and get your bottom mount on, then come back, tighten these up with a 13 mil. That's what I'm going to do. Let me get all this stuff tightened up, and then we will do a quick recap. Jiminy Christmas, I'm not going to tell you that's an easy job. It's actually, it's pretty unpleasant because if you need one of these flag nut things, to repair your upper shock mounts, it's because your Jeep is rusty as all get out. So being underneath there, you're gonna have rust in your hair, you're gonna have rust in your mouth, you're gonna have rust in your eyes. You don't have a good pair of glasses. So I do think though that this is worth the $25. You could definitely make something. You could definitely fish like a bolt up through that little hole to make it work. But for $25 to have all the bends where they need to be, I would recommend this. Again, it was by Rough Country, not an advertisement. I'm just saying this really saved my day. Still have to go do the other one. That one's got the tailpipe next to it, so I think that one's going to be even more difficult. If you are ever doing your exhaust and you have that tailpipe out of there, or you have your gas tank down, I recommend addressing this as well. The more stuff you can get out of the way, the easier it's going to be. The biggest problem is that I don't have a lift, so I'm laying on my back with, you know, this much clearance, and then you don't have a lot of room up inside there to actually work. So if you can get her up in the air, get her up in the air. If you can do it while you have some other stuff out of the way. I should have done it when I was doing the add-a-leaf earlier this year, but I did not. Here we are. Anyway, if you have any questions, by all means, leave me a comment down there in the squawk boxes. Hope you found the video amusing, entertaining, maybe even a little educational. If you did, by all means, like the video, subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. You see all the rust that fell? The driveway was relatively clean before this job. It's weight reduction right there. That's what that is. That's all that is.